Start with the basics. A question tag is a short clause added to the end of a statement. Its main purpose is to turn a regular sentence into a question or to check for confirmation. For example, if you say, "You're coming, aren't you?" you're not just making a statement, you're inviting a response. Question tags are common in everyday English and help keep conversations interactive and friendly. Throughout this video, we'll explore how to construct them, use them with the right intonation, and handle tricky exceptions. Ready to master question tags? Let's dive in. Now let's look at how question tags are built. The basic rule is simple: you add a short question to the end of your statement, but there's a twist. If your statement is positive, your tag should be negative. For example, "You are coming to the party, aren't you?" Here, the main sentence is positive, so the tag is negative. This balance helps clarify your meaning and invites agreement or confirmation from the listener. Let's see a negative balance in action. Imagine you say, "You are coming to the party, aren't you?" The main statement is positive and the tag is negative. This structure is used when you expect the listener to agree with you. It's a friendly way to confirm information you believe to be true. Using this pattern makes your English sound more natural and engaging. But if your statement is negative, in that case your question tag should be positive. For example, "She doesn't speak Spanish, does she?" Here, the main statement is negative and the tag is positive. This balance keeps the sentence clear and easy to understand. It's a simple rule, but it's essential for making your English sound correct and natural. Let's look at an example of positive balance. If you say, "She doesn't speak Spanish, does she?" you're using a negative statement with a positive tag. This pattern is especially useful when you're not sure about something and want to check with the listener. It's a polite way to ask for confirmation without sounding too direct. Key rule in forming question tags is auxiliary alignment. This means you should use the same helping verb or modal verb from your main statement in your tag. For example, "They have finished the project, haven't they?" Notice how the auxiliary verb have appears in both the statement and the tag. This alignment keeps your sentence grammatically correct and easy to follow. Let's see auxiliary alignment in action. If you say, "They have finished the project, haven't they?" you're repeating the auxiliary verb have in the tag. This rule applies to all helping verbs and modal verbs like can, will, or should. Following this rule helps your question tags sound natural and accurate. Another important rule is pronoun substitution. When you create a question tag, replace the subject noun with its matching personal pronoun. For example, "The train was late, wasn't it?" Here, the train becomes it in the tag. This makes your sentences smoother and avoids repetition. Always use the correct pronoun to keep your English clear and concise. Let's look at a pronoun substitution example. If you say, "The train was late, wasn't it?" you're using it instead of repeating "the train." This small change makes your sentence sound more natural and is a key part of forming question tags correctly. Intonation plays a big role in how question tags are understood. The way your voice rises or falls at the end of a sentence can change its meaning. If you use a falling intonation, you're usually just confirming something you already believe. If you use a rising intonation, you're genuinely asking a question and looking for information. Let's talk about falling intonation. When you lower your voice at the end of a question tag, you're usually just seeking agreement. For example, "It's a beautiful day, isn't it?" Here, you expect the listener to agree with you. Falling intonation makes your question tag sound more like a statement than a real question. Here's an example: "It's a beautiful day, isn't it?" The speaker's voice drops at the end, showing they expect agreement. This is common in friendly conversations where you're just confirming something you believe to be true. Now let's look at rising intonation. When your voice goes up at the end of a question tag, you're genuinely asking for information. For example, "You haven't seen my keys, have you?" Here, you're not sure and you need an answer. Rising intonation signals that you're asking a real question. For example, "You haven't seen my keys, have you?" The speaker's voice rises at the end, showing they're unsure and really want an answer. This intonation is useful when you're genuinely seeking information from the listener. Let's move on to some tricky exceptions. One common exception is with the first person singular, "I am." Instead of saying "amn't I," which isn't standard English, you should use "are I." For example, "I am on the guest list, aren't I?" This is a unique rule, but it's important for sounding natural. Here's an example: "I am on the guest list, aren't I?" Even though it might seem odd, this is the correct way to form the question tag with "I am." It's a small detail, but it makes your English sound much more fluent. Another exception involves imperative commands. When you want to turn a command into a softer request, you can use tags like "will you," "won't you," or "would you." For example, "Close the window, will you?" This makes your request sound more polite and less direct. For example, "Close the window, will you?" Here, the tag "will you" softens the command and makes it sound more like a polite request. This is a useful way to ask someone to do something without sounding too forceful. When your subject is a negative indefinite pronoun like nobody, someone, or everyone, use a plural verb and pronoun in your tag. For example, "Nobody called for me, did they?" Even though nobody is singular, English uses they as a neutral pronoun in these cases. For example, "Nobody called for me, did they?" Here, they is used as a neutral pronoun even though nobody is singular. This exception helps keep your language inclusive and grammatically correct. Question tags always come at the end of a statement. This placement is important because it signals to the listener that you're inviting a response. Whether you're confirming information or genuinely asking, the tag's position at the end makes your intention clear. For example, "You're coming, aren't you?" The tag appears at the end, making it clear that you're seeking confirmation. This structure is consistent in English and helps listeners follow your meaning easily. The tense of your question tag should always match the tense of your main statement. If your statement is in the past, your tag should be to. For example, "She went to the store, didn't she?" This consistency keeps your sentences clear and correct. For example, "She went to the store, didn't she?" Both the statement and the tag are in the past tense. This rule applies to all tenses, so always check your verb forms when adding a question tag. When your statement uses a modal verb like can, will, or should, use the same modal in your tag. For example, "You can help me, can't you?" This keeps your sentence consistent and easy to understand. For example, "You can help me, can't you?" The modal verb can appears in both the statement and the tag. This rule applies to all modal verbs, making your question tags sound natural. When your main statement is negative, your question tag should be positive. For example, "He isn't coming, is he?" This pattern helps clarify your meaning and makes your sentence easy to follow. For example, "He isn't coming, is he?" The main statement is negative and the tag is positive. This structure is common in English and helps you check information politely. When your main statement is positive, your question tag should be negative. For example, "They are ready, aren't they?" This balance is key to forming correct question tags. For example, "They are ready, aren't they?" The main statement is positive and the tag is negative. This pattern is used all the time in English conversations. Question tags often lead to short answers. If someone asks, "You're coming, aren't you?" you might reply, "Yes, I am," or "No, I'm not." These short responses keep conversations quick and clear. For example, if someone says, "You're coming, aren't you?" you can simply reply, "Yes, I am." This makes the conversation flow smoothly and avoids unnecessary repetition. When your statement starts with "let's," use "shall we" as your question tag. For example, "Let's go for a walk, shall we?" This is a polite way to suggest something and check if the listener agrees. For example, "Let's go for a walk, shall we?" The tag "shall we" makes the suggestion sound friendly and invites the listener to join in. When your subject is nothing, everything, or similar words, use it in your question tag. For example, "Nothing is wrong, is it?" This keeps your sentence clear and grammatically correct. For example, "Nothing is wrong, is it?" The tag uses it to refer back to nothing. This pattern is common and helps avoid confusion. If your statement uses "this" or "that," use "isn't it" as your tag. For example, "This is your book, isn't it?" This keeps your sentence clear and easy to understand. For example, "This is your book, isn't it?" The tag "isn't it" refers back to this, making the sentence sound natural. When your statement starts with "there," use "isn't there" or the correct form of be in your tag. For example, "There is a problem, isn't there?" This keeps your sentence grammatically correct. For example, "There is a problem, isn't there?" The tag matches the subject and verb, making the sentence easy to understand. When your statement uses few or little, use "are there" or "is there" in your tag. For example, "Few people came, did they?" This helps clarify your meaning. For example, "Few people came, did they?" The tag "did they" checks for confirmation and keeps the sentence clear. When your subject is everyone, someone, or similar, use "they" in your tag. For example, "Everyone enjoyed the party, didn't they?" This keeps your language inclusive and correct. For example, "Everyone enjoyed the party, didn't they?" The tag uses "they" to refer to everyone, making the sentence sound natural. Sum up: question tags are a powerful tool for making your English more interactive and natural. Remember the basic rules: balance positive and negative, match the auxiliary verb, use the right pronoun, and pay attention to intonation. Watch out for exceptions like "I" and using "they" for indefinite pronouns. With practice, you'll use question tags confidently in any conversation.